While districts around the state are coping with frozen budgets and increasing costs, Meriden has been dealing with this austerity for decades. Someone recently asked me, what will these cuts to school budgets look like for you, in your classroom, in your school? And it didn't take me long to answer because I already know. In Meriden, we live it every day. The average per student expenditure in the state of Connecticut is over $22,000. In Meriden, it's $15,000. In order to reach the state average, we would have to invest more than $56 million into Meriden Public Schools annually. That's not going to happen. What does this actually look like in our schools? It looks like underpaid paraprofessionals who often have to choose between a paycheck and their health care. It looks like specialists, like school psychologists, speech and language pathologists, counselors, and social workers, dealing with ballooning caseloads, struggling to stay in compliance with state mandates. It looks like class sizes above the state average. The teacher-to-student ratio in Meriden is 15-1, while the average in the state is 12-1. It's a significant number. That's what the Meriden Public Schools are working with today. If we don't receive the funding that we need to close this deficit for next year, all of these problems will fester and multiply. Without an increase in funding, the only solution will be wholesale layoffs across the district. Class sizes will increase further. We will be unable to stay in compliance with special education law. Our special education students and English language learners will see programs and services already stretched to the breaking point diminish even further. Our advanced placement and early college experience programs will give way as schools are forced to limit offerings outside of graduation requirements. Enrichment programs will be slashed across the board. Transportation for field trips and extracurricular activities will be limited. The list goes on. This is just the start. The state of Connecticut has not adjusted the ECS formula since 2013. For all intents and purposes, our schools have been flat funded for 13 years. The needs of our students have become more complex, and the costs have increased while we have had to make do with less and less. The state has almost $5 billion in reserves, with a projected surplus approaching $2 billion this year alone. I understand that a lot of that has been spent down, but needless to say, the money is there. Both the Senate and the House have proposed bills to address the lack of school funding, neither of which goes far enough to ensure that not only Meriden, but all public schools in Connecticut get what they need. While the state legislature is working to address the ECS formula, the bills currently in committee will not do enough for the most vulnerable communities like Meriden. We need to work with our own legislators, some of whom are here today, to make sure that whatever law, plan, or proposal comes out of Hartford, it fully funds public schools across the state, and that Meriden finally gets the money that we need and that our students deserve. I'm joined today by students, parents, board members, faith leaders, legislators, each of whom will share the impact that these cuts will have on them, their families, and their communities. The first speaker I'd like to welcome up is a student of my own, Maloney Sr., William Trey Nixon.
Good afternoon. As you just heard, I'm William Nixon, a senior at Maloney. The biggest issue with the school funding in our district is that the students of the future may not receive the same strength of education that me and my fellow student body have been entitled to. Currently, our schools offer a number of AP and ECE courses ranging from Quinnipiac Public Speaking and UConn Statistics to ASU Poetry and Bridgeport Intro to Accounting. I point this out to highlight the opportunities that we are offered to get ahead by challenging ourselves while also gaining college credits that save us significant money in the future. However, these classes cost resources, specifically funding and the teachers to lead them. With a lack of funding, these classes won't be offered, and the teacher positions will be lost, forcing the remaining teachers to cover more required classes, also leaving no space on the schedule for AP or ECE courses. With more funding, we would be able to hire more teachers and maintain these impactful classes, while also building a better student-to-teacher ratio. This would allow for smaller classes and the direct attention for students' needs. This may not seem like a big deal at first, but I can tell you from firsthand experience what this looks like in practice. The days before our test in my stats class, my teacher is fielding questions nonstop. Often we leave the class with some of our questions unanswered. It's not her fault though. Our class has 30 students. More funding equals more teachers, which would offer a lower student to teacher ratio, allowing teachers to better serve the future leaders of not only our state, but of our nation. Thank you.
Trey's got a significant height advantage, so I'm going to continue to use this step. Our next speaker is a grandparent of Meriden Public School children. She is a member of SEIU 1199, as well as the Meriden Organizing Committee. Join me in welcoming Milagros Biroshak.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is Milagros. I am a member of 1199. I live here in Meriden. I have seven grandkids in school here. I have 2 grandkids at Maloney, 1 at Washington, and 4 at Nathan Hill. Many children across the world don't have the opportunity to attend school. I am glad that my grandkids have more opportunity and that I did and others do. But I'm worried about the future of their education. Cutting school fundings mean cutting teachers, which means learning will suffer. We are going to see more kids in classroom, which means more stress for teachers and students, and less learning for everyone. These cuts will especially impact my grandkids and other Meriden students who have special needs. If our kids don't learn, who will lead us in the future? We need a politician, I can't say that, I'm sorry, in Connecticut to bring home more state funding to Meriden School. My union and I stand in full support of this effort. We need you all to bring home this money for our kids and grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you, Milagros. Our next speaker will be Youth Pastor Ranford Brooks of the Meriden Faith Center.
Hello and thank you. I am Youth Pastor Ranford Brooks from Faith Center Church here in Meriden. I did have some things written, but I'm just going to speak from my heart. I think it's a really sad day when you have to have a press conference for the needs of a child. It would be different if we were here for wants and desires, but we're just here for the basic needs to help the children of tomorrow be successful. I consider these budget cuts, some might consider, this is fixing a problem in one area, but as a youth pastor that deals with youth in the community, you think you're fixing a problem in one area, but what you're actually doing is creating another problem in another area. When you take funding from schools and you don't allow children, access to a quality education that somebody else in another community might have access to, that doesn't just stay in the school. It actually spills out into the community. It spills out into families. It spills out into the streets. And giving somebody a quality education allows them the ability to be successful in the world. So I don't just consider this something that's good to do or good to talk about, but I consider it an investment into our future of our youth. And if we're not willing to make this investment into our future, Unfortunately, we're going to end up paying for that. I hope that day absolutely never comes. So hopefully we do make that right choice and invest into the children here of Meriden Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. So our next speaker, also a Meriden Public School student, but more importantly, he is the co-president of the Meriden Wallingford NAACP Youth Group. Please join me in welcoming Jason Hayes II.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Hayes, and I'm a senior at Maloney High School and the co-president of the NAACP and Wallingford Youth Chapter. We keep hearing the word budget, but let's talk about what that actually looks like. In our hallways, when our district is forced to make cuts, it's the students who feel the blow. We see it in our teachers' eyes, and we see it in our paraeducators, the people who are the backbone of our classroom. But they are being asked to do more while being paid less. And because of that, we can't support the students, because being paid less means our educators deserve more pay, because without getting paid, students can't be supported. But the truth is, Meriden shouldn't be in this position. We are one of the most diverse districts in Connecticut, yet we are constantly left fighting for scraps. To our lawmakers and State Governor Lamont, Meriden deserves more. First, we are calling out for the state to mark on certain funds for Meriden schools right now to offset these local rules. Our educators shouldn't be a casualty of a local budget crisis. Second, it's time to fix the ECS formula. The state of Connecticut cannot claim to value equality while a student with a zip code determines how much their future is cost. A child in Meriden shouldn't have fewer resources than a child that lives in a suburb. Just because of, and that ain't right, because that's just where they live at. And it's not a budget issue, it's a civil rights issue. These cuts don't just hit a spreadsheet, they attack my peers who are trying to catch up after the pandemic. They hit the 3 younger sisters I have that come behind me. We are tired of being told to do more with less. And to Hartford, stop looking past us. Update the formula, pay our paras, and fund Meriden schools now. Thank you.
I got a little bit out of order on my my speakers here. So our next speaker is esteemed Board of Education member, Annie Lopez-Riddle.
Short people problems. And I also don't know how I'm going to top all of this, but let's do it. We want to thank you all today for just being here. The Board of Education is proud of the real, measurable progress of our students to make academically, culturally, and athletically. Through responsible leadership and strong community partnerships, our students at Maloney and Platt High School now have expanded access to dual credit courses, stronger career paths, vibrant arts and music programs, competitive athletics, and improved facilities. These results didn't happen by any chance. They happen because of intentional investment, discipline, decision-making, and the community working together for success of our children, as you see today. But today, this progress is also at risk. Connecticut's education cost-sharing formula is seriously broken. It has not kept a pace with inflation, and it does not reflect the real cost of school districts that we are facing today, especially with special education. Special education costs are overwhelming to local budgets, students' needs are increasingly complex, and districts are more often required to rely on private placements where tuitions tend to rise annually with little cost of containment. Even as spending grows each budget cycle, districts like Meriden continue to struggle to secure appropriate services for our students. What makes this even more troubling is that Meriden is already doing more with less. So according to the net current expenditure data, Meriden spends $16,351 per pupil, thousands of dollars below the statewide average of $21,000 per student. We are operating efficiently and responsibly. However, special education costs continue to outpace state and local budget increases. Local taxpayers cannot continue to absorb the burden alone. Property taxes are neither sustainable nor equitable, and continuing to rely on them only deepens disparities between our communities. What we're missing is a comprehensive, long-term state strategy, one that modernizes the ECS formula that reflects the true and rising costs of special education, reins in the unchecked private placement tuitions, and provides stable, predictable funding for districts. Meriden has always proven that when resources are aligned with need, our students always thrive. We urge our state delegation to stand with us and get additional resources for our school systems right now, during this budget cycle. This is not a budget issue. It is an issue of equity, fiscal responsibility, and our shared commitment to every student's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. So now I have the honor of introducing State Senator Jan Hockedell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was talking to Matt a couple hours ago, and we're saying, how did we get in this position? Isn't education supposed to be the great equalizer, the foundation of democracy? How did we get here? Somebody said it best. It's because in Connecticut, it depends where you live, your zip code. Too much of our education funding comes from property taxes. Now that's great if you live in Greenwich, where the governor lives. They don't have any problem funding their education. They have the resources they need, they have the teachers, they have great programs. But when you look at the less wealthy communities like Meriden, we cannot afford to have higher taxes. We just had one, and people are scraping by. These inequities cannot continue, not if education is supposed to be the great equalizer. And it's going to get worse. It is getting worse. We are getting information that our student population is declining. And you've heard people talk about the cost per pupil. When the state gives towns money, they give so much money per pupil. So what happens when you have less students? You get less money from the state. So for Meriden, where there's already financial burdens, getting less money from the state is only going to make the problem worse. And you've heard the results, right? Larger class sizes. Students, when they're cramped together and don't get the attention, you have more problems with student discipline. You have teacher burnout. Educators deserve respect. I can tell you, as a past teacher, it was the hardest job I ever did, and probably the lowest pay. creating our citizens of tomorrow, taking care of our children, installing a love for learning, and becoming great folks in our community. And our paraeducators, my God, the quiet heroes of our classrooms. There you go, there's mine. They deserve so much more. People don't realize that our paraeducators typically work 2 and 3 jobs, neglecting their own children so that they can take care of yours. They deserve the proper pay, health care, and dignity and respect in the classrooms. So again, how did we get here? Because the state is not funding, you've heard ECS, our education cost sharing formula. There are bills in the Education Committee to try and help this. They definitely do not go far enough. And we got to blow it today. The Appropriations Committee is meeting. I don't know if they've voted, but the proposal was to flat fund, once again, this ECS cost sharing formula. Oh yeah, we need it louder. This is why we're here today. We need them to catch up from that 2013 amount. They need to tie it to an index so that there's always growth and we don't have to beg for money. We need those outplacement centers for special education, which is also such a drain on everyone in the town, and especially our educators. But we're going to need your voices. As this bill comes out of appropriations, which will be the budget, and everybody remembers when the governor did his budget in February, right? Everybody was upset, and we ended up throwing 50% out. The Appropriations Committee is going to be doing their budget. We'll probably end up throwing out 25%. So how do we get a budget? It comes down to the next couple weeks, where the leadership in the House and the Senate are going to be sitting down with the governor's office and negotiating. And what's going to change their minds? Everybody in the audience today. We're working on a plan. We need your voices. We need your stories. We need to hear your experiences of what's going to happen in Meriden if we do not get fully funded. So we are counting on you. Are you going to do your part? Yes. Are you going to do your part? Because we need you to make sure we get this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hockadell. Our final speaker today is Meriden's own State Representative Mike Quinn.
I don't need the height advantage either. First off, I want to recognize my 2 colleagues in the State House, Representative Hilda Santiago and Representative Jack Fazzino. They both send their regrets that they could not be here today. And, you know, a lot of what the decisions we're making now are going to directly impact Representative Fazzino in a few years when his young son starts kindergarten. So believe me when I say your local delegation gets it. We know there's not enough money. And we know that the formula needs to be changed so that the communities who don't really need it don't get as much as they're getting now, so that it can be redirected to communities like Meriden who do need it. The one advantage that I have over my colleagues is I'm a product of the Meriden public school system. I went to Roger Sherman. I went to Jefferson Middle School. It's where the post office is, because the young people probably don't know what I'm talking about. And then I went to Lyman Hall in Wallingford for the VOAG program. So I know the value of education in this town. I can tell you every teacher that I had at Roger Sherman and Jefferson, because they made such a lasting impact on me. My ability to stand here and do this is because of the teachers that I had, 40, 50 years ago. We won't use an exact number, but we get it. And it's just getting the colleagues in Hartford to get it also. When we finally passed a bill a couple of years ago to raise our own salaries, So that we didn't have to do it again, we tied it to an index. There's no reason we can't tie education costs to an index also. So those are the conclusions of my remarks, but Representative Santiago also wanted me to read a statement from her. Like the rest of us, she's in full support of increasing the ECS funding, as it is essential to assuring that all students, regardless of where they live, have access to high-quality education. Inadequate ECS funding in our school districts, especially those in under-resourced communities, forces administrators to make difficult choices that often negatively impact students. This can mean larger class sizes, fewer extracurricular opportunities, and reduced support services such as counseling and special education. Over time, these gaps widen educational inequities and limit opportunities for students who already face systemic challenges. Investing in education is an investment in the broader community. Strong schools contribute to a more skilled workforce, healthier communities, and long-term economic growth. We must help level the playing field. Adequate and equitable funding allows schools to invest in early childhood programs, academic interventions, and mental health support, and college and career readiness initiatives. These are not extras. They are critical components of a well-rounded education that prepares students for the future. She will continue working with state leaders and colleagues to secure a fair and just share of ECS funding for Meriden schools, and she's committed to ensuring that every student has access to the resources, opportunities, and support they need to reach their full potential. My nieces have gone through the Meriden Public School system. I don't have children myself, but I have no problem as a taxpayer paying what's necessary to make sure that the kids of today get the same opportunities that I had in the 70s and 80s when I was going through the school system. So know that we're here for you. We're doing everything that we can, and hopefully whatever emerges out of the budget this year will, if it doesn't completely solve the problem, makes a larger dent in it than what is currently coming out of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Quinn, and thank everyone for coming today. The state of Connecticut has taken on several monikers recently. We call ourselves the pizza capital of the world and the basketball capital of the world. Well deserved. If the state elects to do what is right and fix the formula, fully fund our schools, and I mean truly fix it, index it, tie it to inflation, increase the base foundation grant amount, we have the opportunity to become the educational capital of the world. We have the chance to lead the country. We have the chance to be a beacon of education and literacy. But to go there, our legislators need to make the right decisions. We all know that we're dealing with some very complex issues. I've learned more about school budgets and the electoral process and the legislative process than I ever knew before. And I teach civics. So we've got a long way to go. We know that the solution won't be simple. Complex problems aren't generally solved with simple solutions. And we know that we're going to have to fight to get there. We also know that what we want is simple. We know that our asks are simple. We need our legislators to earmark money to fix Meriden's school budget deficit now, today. We need to update the ECS formula to reflect the cost of an actual education in Connecticut. And we need to increase the pay and benefits of the backbone of our schools, the paraprofessionals. The very first thing we need to do is stop the cuts. And that will only happen when we fund our schools. Thank you everyone for coming today. Enjoy the afternoon.